If you're looking for even more key issues, check out our website, keyissuesofficial.com. This is a website where we can post things that just don't make it into video form, like reviews and other articles. We're really proud of it, so please check it out.
Greetings, friends of Key Issues. Today I am coming to you with a highly controversial video. Now, a few weeks back, we discussed doing a Stephen King's It review, and sadly, I realized it kind of doesn't really fit within the realm of what our channel is about. Horror movies, while very awesome, don't really fit into the mold that we have set, so we decided to scrap it. The reason I bring this up is because I was blown away by the movie It, and I wanted to incorporate it into a video. It was a terrifying and chilling film, and the cast did an excellent job, and Bill Skarsgård honestly killed it in his portrayal of Pennywise, the interdimensional demon clown. But every time I saw Bill on screen as Pennywise, I kept seeing flashes of what I had kind of always hoped to see in the Joker on screen. Don't get me wrong, Heath Ledger and Jack Nicholson both did a really great job in their respective portrayals. Jared Leto, not so much. But it got me thinking, I had found my way to incorporate it into this channel. That's right, Showdown. Pennywise, or as he's often referred to in the books, It, is undoubtedly the king of silver screen clowns right now. But the Joker is arguably the most definitive and recognizable villain in all of comics. So what would happen if these two came to blows? So let's start by taking a look at our competitors. I'm going to discuss their background and their strengths and see who would win in a showdown. There will be some slight spoilers for the second half of the It film that's yet to come out, but if you've read the book or if you've seen the 1990s TV miniseries, these won't really be a shocker. Let's start with It. It is an interdimensional being who came to Earth millions of years ago from a space that surrounds our known universe called the Macroverse. Essentially, the Macroverse is literal nightmare fuel. It's a land of nightmare fuel, and everything there is terrifying. It had been slumbering for millions of years on Earth, waiting for the dawn of mankind, eventually settling and waking in the area that would become known as Derry, Maine in the United States, circa 1715. Every few years, It would wake up, triggered by a horrific act of violence within the town, and it would then go on a rampage of eating villagers. It would enter hibernation whenever an equally brutal tragedy took place. Now, It is a shapeshifter, meaning that its normal form is usually not seen by most of its prey. Instead, it can kind of sense and take the form of your worst fears. For those of you Harry Potter fans who watch our sorting videos, think of what J.K. Rowling created, an identical creature called a boggart.
Boggarts are shapeshifters. They take the shape of whatever a particular person fears the most. That's what makes them so
terrifying, yes.
Its favorite form is that of Pennywise the dancing clown, and it had used that form to lure children its favorite food for hundreds of years. Pennywise is a master of manipulation. He's a telepath who can take the form of whatever he desires in order to elicit a desired emotional response. Its true strength seems to kind of be derived from how scared you are of him. He prefers to frighten his victims and has stated that frightened flesh tastes better. However, his true power lies in his natural form, the Deadlights. The Deadlights are its form when he's not shape-shifting. Simply viewing these lights can drive a normal person insane, or at least, catatonic. Additionally, It is notoriously difficult to kill. The reasons are twofold. First and foremost, he's extremely old and very experienced in his craft. He has a lot of practice over many millennia and has undoubtedly come across a bunch of close calls. Even when the Losers Club thinks that they've defeated him, he actually just kind of retreats into hibernation and rests up and regains his strength. The second reason he's difficult to defeat is that when you're not directly near It, you kind of forget that he exists. A form of memory loss occurs when you're not within a certain proximity to the monster. This is certainly an effect of his telepathic nature. It's like a defensive mechanism without which It would probably be much less likely to survive. Consider the fact that It would be at his weakest if someone would come looking for him while he's in hibernation. Whenever his rampage stops, its murders are usually forgotten or explained away as tragedy. Thus, nobody ever comes looking for the monster to destroy him. That's about all I really need to cover on It. and it's a lot of background info, but I felt like it was needed for you to understand what you're dealing with here. I'm also going to discuss a fairly massive spoiler here, so if you wish to remain completely in the dark for the upcoming It sequel, skip ahead by a few seconds, say 10 seconds. With reference to It being difficult to kill, there are even signs in other Stephen King books that It escaped his fate against the Losers Club and retreated to other worlds. Now let's discuss the Joker. When it comes to the Joker, we have a very different kind of monster. There have been many incarnations of the Joker over the years. Between television, film, video games, and comic books, we have quite a bit to work with. And I'm going to be basing my character traits of the Joker from the comic books, but to be fair, the majority of the other versions borrow heavily from the comic book version of the Joker anyway. While the character certainly needs no introduction, the Joker is Batman's greatest enemy. The Joker is the antithesis to Batman. Where Batman represents strategy and order, the Joker represents chaos and madness. While the Joker doesn't directly have an identifiable backstory, DC has recently made moves to fill in some holes explaining around when he first appeared and why he's been around for so long. The Joker simply appears one day and starts wreaking havoc on Gotham City and Batman. Oftentimes the Joker's casualties number in the dozens all the way up to the hundreds. Every time he reappears in Gotham, he appears to have added a new level of depravity to his repertoire. The Joker does not possess any specific superpower. However, in the latter half of the New 52, we find out that the Joker has been using Dionysium, a fictional precious metallic substance, to enhance his speed, strength, and lifespan. Dionysium is what makes up a portion of the Lazarus pits that have sustained characters like Ra's al Ghul for many, many years, and even managed to resurrect Jason Todd from the dead. Because of the longevity associated with Dionysium, it makes the modern incarnation of the Joker's age impossible to detect. This substance also allows the Joker to heal at a rapid rate, allowing him to spring back from defeat at a much quicker pace. The Joker possesses genius-level intellect without all the pesky baggage of things like morality, fear, or even hesitation. The Joker is a creature of impulse. He often kills simply to kill, not because he enjoys the act of killing, but because the option was available. During the War of Jokes and Riddles, the Joker helps bring about a war that kills hundreds and lasts for over a year, with even Batman nearly powerless to stop him. During Endgame, the Joker is able to defeat the entire Justice League single-handedly without throwing a single punch. The Joker is a nearly perfect antagonist who has been fine-tuned over the years to be a significant threat to anybody unlucky enough to come across his path in comics. Now, I know what you're thinking, that's a lot of great information, but what if it and the Joker fought? Who is truly the most deadly clown in all of fiction? Well, let's first discuss motivation. These two villains are driven by two completely different things. It is driven to kill by his need to survive, his hunger. While the actions that it takes are undeniably evil, it does these things because it's trying to survive. It comes from a universe wherein this is kind of par for the course. The nature of all beings from the macroverse is that they're kind of evil pieces of shit. The Joker is driven by chaos, his need to create hysteria, his desire to upset the status quo and balance. He often doesn't have a specific motivation other than to elicit an emotional response from others, most often Batman, and usually laughter or fear. It's hard to reason or negotiate with somebody whose desires aren't immediately recognizable. The lack of clear, identifiable motivation makes him the type of adversary that can't be reasoned with, or at least not in a traditional sense. Next, let's discuss the tools at their disposal. How would each approach a fight? Pennywise would attempt to prey on your fears. He would lure his opponent into a situation that was frightening and use that fear to grow stronger. This concept is explored most often with the Scarecrow in Batman's mythos. Additionally, Pennywise could potentially be anywhere at any time. His ability to shapeshift makes him impossible to detect until he wants to be detected. Often his victims are unaware of his presence at all. Instead, they're so overwhelmed with their fears that they're pretty much rendered helpless and he's left to clean up the pieces. Additionally, Pennywise can vanish with his prey just as quickly as he arrives. Oftentimes people go missing before anybody can respond to the victim's initial cries. The Joker, on the other hand, has a very different set of tools. Guns, bombs, knives, and his patented laughing gas. Despite the fact that Joker's goal is often death and chaos, the Joker rarely approaches the situation without a game plan. Rigging traps, staging elaborate no-win situations, and mass poisonings are all well within his wheelhouse. However, the biggest and most often overlooked tool that the Joker has is his intellect. He's often able to manipulate people into doing things that he wants. Case in point is when he psychologically breaks down and rebuilds Dr. Harleen Quinzel. Additionally, there are dozens of other stories where the Joker stalks and manipulates people over many, many years until they simply break. He doesn't forgive and he doesn't really forget. I don't want to paint a picture of how the actual battle would go. Instead, I'll crown a victor based off of the information that I've outlined so far. The decision to crown a victor wasn't as difficult as I expected once I laid everything out in front of me. It has the more impressive abilities. He can shapeshift, he's telepathic, he has the experience of millions of years of life, but all of that is useless on an opponent that virtually has no fears. Batman has the exact same problem with the Joker that Pennywise would have. Batman is a predatory hero. He stalks his prey and manipulates their fears until they're so scared that they can't help but give up. It takes the exact same approach, however, its strength and power are derived from his ability to elicit that emotional response. The Joker doesn't have any real human emotions. He's an absolute psychotic. Additionally, when it does finally face the Losers Club in the sewers of Derry during the book or film, he's eventually forced to retreat simply because they stand up to him and they're able to beat him up with some debris and pipes and chains. The Joker would have murdered every kid in that sewer and not thought twice about it. The Joker would simply overpower it and beat it to death. Pennywise is notorious for fleeing a situation to regain strength and hibernating, but I don't think the Joker's the kind of adversary that would allow it to do that. So there you have it. The Joker's the true king of fictional clowns. He simply doesn't possess any of the traits that Pennywise would need to take advantage of in order to win. That kind of wraps it up for this video. It was a fun thing to think about, but we also want to know what you think. Let us know down in the comments if you disagree or agree with my assessment of the showdown, and I will be happy to argue with each and every one of you. Thanks for checking out this Key Issues video, and remember to like and subscribe, and you can see all of our extra junk on the screen if you want to follow us on social media. Remember the motto, comics over everything.